sure how to express my gratitude. I'm not sure I deserve this honor, to be frank, especially sitting in front of next to Pepita, so as Manasi. They're all giants in this journey. I just happened to begin my journey about a couple of years ago. Before that, I would like to express my gratitude to Thrissur, sir, of course my own beloved teachers, and Pepita again. For my, you're my inspiration. I just started this just a couple of years ago. One of the key reasons, when I looked at it, I started documenting, at least from the photography perspective, I started my journey seriously started my journey with the D800E 2012, maybe about 13 years ago. Since then, I captured till around 2022, I might have captured about 20 or 30 different things. So it's maybe something relatively minor, but I happened to exhibit some of those as a photo exhibits at various universities at least a couple of universities in the West, the Rhodes College and a couple of other places. And I happened to have the invitation from the AKMG, All Kerala Medical Graduates. Since 2015 onwards, I'm exhibiting, or not the last year, 2023, I was invited to give I don't want to call it as a keynote, but at least some speech about the circle based on Theyyam. So in summary, in 2022, I happened to get a Nikon Z9 camera, and one of the camera one of my team members is holding. That's a highly capable video camera that can shoot 8K, 60p, pretty much non-stop, that camera. So when I was lucky to get as one of the very first person got that camera. So when I got that camera, one of the first thing came to my mind is so far I was capturing only the pictures. And the pictures, it's very hard to tell the story through a couple of pictures. Unless, and again, you need to live, and as Pepita already mentioned, you need to live, you need to go through that experience. The next best thing I can do is at least showcase some of the high quality videos. So with that intention, I reached out to some of my contacts in Malabar, and they all happy to have me, happy to give us, especially I didn't get the chance to go to Kerala, especially thanks because of COVID and other reasons. So, and in short, they offered me all the helps, regarding capturing the videos. And when I looked at it, what the hell am I shooting so far? With the video, you need to tell the story behind it. You need to give a meaningful narration. I don't want to just post it for the sake of it. YouTube is littered with all kind of videos, especially the mobile videos. So if I wanted to narrate, if I want to tell the story, I need to say something meaningful. So that's when I realized I have no idea about what I'm shooting so far, taking the pictures. So then I looked at it. There are maybe about half a dozen books in print. Maybe now, and I managed to gather about 30 different print books. But most of those prints are targeted towards the Malayali, Malabari, Theyyam audience. By Padma Shri, they all did an Vishnu Nambudri, they all did an amazing job. And that's when I realized, when I looked at it, I found some of the gems, like Pepita, she did, she rightfully she mentioned, she's documenting this content for about 20 plus years now, on this kind of topic. The way I approach is, this is again, more I looked into it, I find out it's an extremely complicated topic. And as you know, Pepita, she's spending I don't know how many decades she's dedicating for this. Unfortunately, being there, and I need to feed my kids, and I do have a mortgage on, and a car loans, and it's not practical for me to come and, spend my rest of my life in this part of the world. And even if I spend a couple of my lifetime, it's very hard to cover. There are about 800 different versions of Theyyams, and many of those Theyyams, very little, documentation on these things. These are most of these stories and most of the Theyyams. It's literally a secret, like maybe they can speak about that one. So certain communities, and these are more, unfortunately, or they're not very literate community. At least back in those days, there is very little documentations, and it is came through mostly through the Parliament. It is that's when I realized if I want to get something. If I want to get documented, it is impossible for me alone. It is single-handedly to do this kind of very complicated topic. Maybe I did a little bit of short, and before that, in 2020, I had the fortune of publishing The God Must Be Crazy, based on an African comedy movie. That's nothing to do with that's a non-fiction one. That's about the geopolitics, the economics, and all those stuff. So I know. When I started looking at the narrating, telling the story, I realized anyway I need to do my homework to do the narration. So why don't I document some of the stuff which I captured during that the process? So then write a book about it based on that one. Then use that book as a foundation for the video narration. In short, I realized there is no way. As a person, especially based in the US, it is impossible for me to alone to capture. So I took maybe a little bit of shortcut. I hired about a dozen PhDs in this part of the, especially from Kerala, and we went and do the research in various Trivandrum Central Library, Calcutta University libraries, and all that. Interviewed various Theyyam artists, and in short. I come out with the first edition of the book, the Gods of Country book, the very first edition. Anyway, the rest is history. I know how our algorithm works. I know how to take advantage of some of the nice people like the Pepita, and again I try to believe. It's not lucky, to be frank. I reached out to almost all Theyyam writers personally. Pepita, some reason or other, I couldn't find her again. Anyway, I really appreciate Levi sir and Bogi sir and the whole TECOSA community for giving me the opportunity to get to know Pepita in person. In short, in summary, this presentation, I want to give a high level, this is an extremely complicated topic. I want to give a high level visual tour. I'm not sure. Hopefully I'll do some justice on this one. So this is about the cradle of the gods of country. I'm going to get into the details later. The Kerala is not for the gods of country. I'm going to cover a little bit about that. Let me get into that. So overall, I'm not sure how much. Will you tell me this? Try to cover. It's about 13, 14 slides, and I'll cover it as fast as possible. So we're going to get into I'm going to give a high-level overview about the gods of country, which most of you are familiar, right? So this our own in the indigenous gods of the gods of country. So I'm going to cover a little bit about that one. Then I'm going to cover about where is the cradle of the birthplace of this gods of country. A little bit more about the Chirakkal Pringaliyatam also, that's got very high strategic important, and I'm going to cover a little bit about it. And what me and my team, what we did so far, and what you can do as, this is not, yes, it is known as an Malabari festival, but this is every village, not just in Kerala, in India has its own festival, like in this part of the world, maybe the Parade, maybe a little bit south of the Parade, there are about at least over 1,000 different folklore forms based on, I think, if I can quote from Ajay Master, he is the secretary of Folklore Academy. There are about over, I think, 2,000, if I'm not wrong, around 2,000 different folklores in this part of the world. So the Theyyam, I just happened to pick Theyyam from that part of the world, being from that part of the world. So I think we do have some duty to preserve before it is too late. So I'm going to get into that, little bit detailed that part. So as you know that the Kerala is known as the gods of country. It's the typical tourists. They come to the south, especially the south of the Kerala, the Bekal, not the Bekal, to the Kumaradam, and all those picturesque waterways and all those things. So like again, I felt northern part of Kerala is also the Bekal, and there are a lot of water, backwater places in northern part of Kerala. Also, there are a lot of unexplored places, and the mythological connections. And I'm not going to get into all the details behind the scenes. You're familiar with this one, and many of you may already know that this is coined by Walter Mendes. He's the creative director behind it, but I think I forgot the name of the IAS officer, J, or I forgot. He is the true person behind it. I need to give some acknowledgement to him also. He's the person initiated, but Walter Mendes, and his thing came out with the coin with the gods on country. And the Kerala is known for the gods on country, especially. So I'm going to take a little bit about the gods of gods on country. These are the indigenous people, the Dravida people in this part of the world. Their gods, the native, the gods are the Theyyam. And there are about, like many of the typical, again, I need to be careful what I'm talking about, many of the typical gods, like in the temples, are, the native gods are the Theyyam. Many of the native gods are the Theyyam. So, and these are the gods. It is fascinating to find. These are many of them are rebel gods. Many of the gods, they are crucified by the establishment by fighting against the system or against, like there are some of them about the caste, like the Patandayan. They questioned the caste system, so he was burned alive. These are many of these gods are the crucified gods. They become God. These are one of the book which I'm writing, maybe towards the end. In this trip, my primary focus was covering about the Guruvayur region. It's a very fascinating story. And the English title of my book is From Paraya to the Peak. So in Malayalam, because of all the sensitivity, so I'm giving the title of Pokirin Paramanadal. So these people, especially not just the Guruvayur, many of these gods are outcast from their own community. Even he was the only son of Kumaraj and Chaki. And he was brought up in such a loving environment, but unfortunately, his father had to kick him out of his home. And his mother was forced to not to feed him. And because of some of the the untouchability and some of the caste politics in that part of the world, even unfortunately it's happening even in today's environment. Because of that kind of environment, he was kicked out of his home. He went to Kadivennur, that is in Coorg, Gordon, he was forced to flee from his native place because of the discriminatory environment. Fortunately, even that kind of environment, discrimination is still happening in that part of the world. And he went and he became successful in that part of the world. Unfortunately, this may be a story of many Malayalis over, even if you look at many of the youngsters today, they are all forced to flee from the God's own country. So once they, like the Guruvayur happened to have been around 500 years ago. So my point is, and again, I'm working on that book, especially the UP Padma Shri Pepita is helping me out. For her academy is helping out. That's one of the major initiatives. We can come out with something substantial about. There are about 800 that kind of quotes in that part of the world, and unfortunately, that kind of the stories are very little known. And again, thanks to Pepita and people like now the Western world is seeing, or the rest of the world is seeing those details. And if I may, I'm coming from my current residency is in Memphis. Memphis is known for blues. Blues is, you might have heard about Elvis Presley, right? Memphis is known for rock and roll. The other side of rock and roll is, like, maybe if I might compare it to the rock and roll, compare it to Kathakali. There's the other side of Memphis is home of blues. Blues is the Theyyam of the black community, especially in the cotton plantations. They used to sing that. That's how the blues originated. So if I'm from the Western perspective, I may compare it as the Theyyam is the rebellion against the establishment, against the system, and these are the indigenous gods of the martyr gods of, or crucified gods of our own native place. If I may give a little bit of how the Theyyam got established, who marketed what the watermanders of 500 years or about 500 years ago. The Theyyam was in existence, but let me get into that. So before, the Kathakali, I'm coming from, especially in the northern Malabar, it's a very, very interesting place. And the Kuthuvarama, my backyard, or like the behind, just maybe 1 or 2 miles from my home is the Kottayam Kingdom, from the Kottayam Kingdom. So the Kottayam Palace is just maybe 1 or 2 kilometers away from my home. So Kathakali is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. Kathakali is by Kottayam King, or now back in those days, the Parsi King. The Samudiris, they brought Krishna Natam. The same way the Kolatiji kings brought Theyyam into the picture. So, in summary, it's a very fascinating story. You can read more about the story from the book. After all kind of the challenges posed by the Kolatiri king to Manakad and Gurukul. Manakad and Gurukul is from a lower caste thing. I forgot the name of the community. So his last challenge was to entertain his subjects and honor his Bhagavati, or his it's known as Thai. So he challenged Manakad and Gurukul to perform, entertain his subjects and perform his Thai Paradeva and the ritual performance. That's when around maybe about 50 again back in 1680. So Manakad and Gurukul architected the Theyyam art form. In a single night, he performed 35 different Theyyams. It is known as Nupataya. So that is how the Manakad and Gurukul is the architect of Theyyam may be in existence in several, but he he coined the Theyyam, the term Theyyam, he brought Theyyam as an established art form under the Quality Kings. And it is a, many of you might have seen the movie Kantara and all those things. So now the Theyyam is getting significant importance in our culture. So the Theyyam is derived from the word, Herman Gundet, back in those days. It's derived from the word Devo. It maybe, initially came from the origins dated back to the Sangam literature in the Bronze Age, again. Manakkaran Gurukul happened to just bring, everything under one single umbrella. It is dated even back to the Bronze Age, Sangam literature. These are many known in many forms. If you go in the Tulu area, north of Kasaragod, that over there it is known as Budagoda. If you go a little bit down south, it is known as Theyyam, the Kasaragod and Kannur area, Theyyam. If you go to the Kannur area or Talseri area, it's known as various Kaliyatam. And the Tradi, there are so many different variations on the Theyyam. And these are the gods, like the Mahabali. He visits us once in a year during the Onam time. These are the Theyyam gods. If you go to the typical, in temples, you can see all the vigrahas and all that stuff. If you go to the Theyyam Grau, you can see maybe a couple of weapons and some of the artifacts which Theyyam uses. These are the gods visit once in a year during the Theyyam season. These are the humans. These are the local people, and they become gods after going through certain ritual. It's starting with from the performance perspective, with a totem or velatam. Then they, in a stage way, they get possessed, and after the totem and the velatam, then they do all elaborate makeups, the body painting and face painting, and then they put the heavy gear, depending on what time, the heavy costumes. Then once they look at the mirror, or once they wear the talapad, that is when they become the gods. And these are, they do the performances, the ritual performances for the people. And these are the gods of the people, by the people, and for the people. And once after the performance, once they remove the headgear, or once they remove the talapali, they become just another person in the community. It is so fascinating to see, the intricate details of many of those things people have already captured in it. And these are the Theyyam. This, unlike, I don't want to typical performance, even if I may compare it to the Kathakali. The Kathakali, typically it's a performance of one person, typically in a watch. Typically, nowadays, at least in the States, in the Theyyam, the traditional way of performing the Theyyam artist is only just maybe one small portion of the Theyyam. You need to look at the background, the cow. Many of those cows are situated in the foresty or in a grove area. It's so amazing. I've been to around 18 different countries with my project. And wherever I go, it will be like carrying my camera. And I captured, off the beaten paths of, at least some of those countries. I realized there is no other so fascinating place as Kannur, the Malabar area, and so little understood area. So the people are so amazing. And so the Theyyam become Theyyam, not just the performer is only a small part. The environment, the growth environment is one key factor. Another key factor is the audience. So of course nowadays there are more cell phone cameras than the people attending. Unfortunately, it's an exploited version of from a different perspective. In short, the worshippers. There is no Theyyam performance without the worshippers. You can see many of them, especially in the Kasaragod, if you go to especially Bodhagala temple, it is so fascinating to see the worshippers. They enter into the trance state, and many of them, it's hard to explain. You need to watch that kind of. The audience plays a huge part. The Theyyam performer is only a very small part of the Theyyam. And they do. You might have heard about during the Chirakal Kaliyattam. His little boy, the 12-year-old boy, Abhiraj, he jumped into the fire 128 times. It is. I was capturing very next to him. Even I moved away after some time. It is so hot. It was burning. The fire was burning for about, I think, 3 or 4 days. It was so hot. It is hard to explain. It is truly mystical how they perform it. It is scientifically, it is very hard to explain. They literally become. Then there are about 800 different versions of those kind of gods. It is very little again. People need to do a serious research, serious documentation on many of these kind of things. So this is not just it's not a performance. This is not just a ritual performance. This is the dance of the gods. So interestingly, again, I don't want to get into all the political aspect of it. There is a lot of power dynamics. So including on the Theyyam, these are structurally they want to assimilate. I don't want to get into all the political the details. These are the ritual performance of downtrodden society. Let me not get into all the political aspect of it. That itself is a huge topic. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about the Chirakal Penigaliyatam also. As I mentioned, the Kolathiri king back in 15 or 16 AD, he asked Manakkad and Gurukul to honor his god or goddess, the Tiger Devata, along with that's how it started back. So in 2023, I happened to have the invitation from thanks to the first edition of this book. I happened to have the invitation from the king. He unfortunately passed away just before, 2 weeks before, 1 week before the Chirakal Penigaliyatam. I happened to have the once in a lifetime kind of that even happened 87 years. Even to get the Chirakal Penigaliyatam status, you need to wait at least 12 years. And there's a lot of protocols, at least. One of the key protocols is 12 years. So this festival happened after 87 years. And there are about 450,000 people participated at the Chirakal Penigaliyatam. And even the Prime Minister himself, you can see it from my book, he wrote a letter in the book itself, about the Chirakal Penigaliyatam. So I had the privilege of capturing the whole event. This is a pretty much 35 different Mupathaivars, 35 different Theyyams, performed over 5 days, pretty much 120 hours of non-stop performances. So myself and some of mine, including Santosh Shetan and all, some of mine, about a crew of about 2 dozen. Some of the finest photographers and the videographers, especially Saji and Karol's right-hand person was with me, Bob Chetan, Santosh Shetan was with me. This team captured around 500 hours of performance with 4 different cameras and 2 drones, and we captured this. A lot of material. I had the fortune of capturing it. And even I think some of you might have seen this book on the circle atom. So this is contributed. You can see the scholarly essays from various scholars, including from the West. Even in the very first book, I had the fortune of having even an Arabic scholar writing about why Arabs should learn about anthropologically the importance about the Theyyam. And he even wrote a paper in Sharjah journal. That's the number 1 piece of my understanding. That's the number 1 anthropological journal at least in the Arab part of the world. So we're getting a lot of attention. I was fortunate to have some of those scholars. They were with me locally during the Circle Atom. So in short, I happened to publish the Circle Atom book last year. Along with that, we do have and this trip. One of the number 1 reason I came here was to inaugurate the Circle Folklore Academy Art Gallery. On March 2nd, we opened that art gallery. That is at the fortune of contributing at least something meaningful, from that perspective. So this is the letter from the Prime Minister of India. This is about the Circle Atom, and you can see it in the book. So you may ask, why I'm doing all this crazy stuff, I felt, and again, in 2020, maybe early 2008 itself, I had my fair share of, you might saw us, Vidyasagar mentioned, very little data about me. Yes, I was living in my own cocoon, maybe in the management consulting field, and I was not very socially, at least in the Facebook and that kind of areas, I'm not very active. So in 2020, I was doing a very attractive consulting in a consulting field, in the management consulting field. I decided not to play some of those corporate politics. And I was sure of finding another much better opportunity. So I played my cards, and again, diplomatically, and now rightfully, ethically, I played my cards. And in short, I lost my job in 2022 January. And those were the days, and you may remember, presidential campaign was not a full-blown one. Bloomberg was running for one of the candidates back then. I was again, back in those days I was doing, again, my first book was about the economics and the geopolitics and all those. I was very fascinated by Bloomberg, and I decided, so anyway, I can take a couple of months break. So let me do a little bit more, let me learn how the US political system works. So I dedicated a couple of months for Bloomberg campaign. Good or bad, he withdrew his candidacy. He, nominated Biden as so. And my intention was to, with the Bloomberg leaving the campaign field, and I thought of coming back to the consulting field again, but that's when the COVID hit. And because of the COVID, the whole economy was tanking, nobody was hiring me, and for my consulting work, I need to travel, typically I need to travel Monday through Thursday. So no travel, again, the whole whole world was collapsing in front of me. I was unemployed for a couple of months. And in that time, New York was hit hard. My consulting practice was mostly about New York and the Northeast area. It hit hard. Some of my colleagues, ex-colleagues, they lost their lives. So I was not sure of how long I'm going to live. So I thought, let me make some of my facts straight before I die. So that's when I came out with the very first book, The World Must Be Crazy, From the Cradle of Communism to the Catacomb of Capitalism, that book. In that book, I primarily, Kerala is, the Theyyams of Malabar is the first democratically elected communist in the world. So from that cradle of communism, I'm doing the consulting work in the management, the corporate world, especially. From my perspective, I put it as from the catacomb of capitalism. In short, coming back to that. So I thought of coming out of my, I turned 50. So let me, and I was not sure how long I would live, so let me make my facts right. That's when I started my writing journey in 2020, with that book. So that was the beginning, and this is for me, and later on in 2022, I don't want to get into all the details. In 2022, I realized this is the way I can financially, again, I had a very interesting conversation with my dad about what the hell am I doing with the financials on some of these things. Don't make any sense. But to having this kind of audience, having this kind of honor, this is something, I believe I'm doing something meaningful to them, the community, those who send me to the Thrissur Engineering College, back in those days, everything was government funded. So this is a way for me to give back to the community. It's not just this kind of performances. It's not just about the Malabar region alone. There are so many other folklore. There are so many other Yamadevadas. There's Padayani. There are a lot of festivities happening throughout. I just happened to pick something relatively easy, relatively which I can correlate. In short, so what I want to get out the reason I started writing to get out of my monkey traps. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the monkey trap, that concept, especially even in Thailand and that Southeast Asia, they trap the monkeys. They hope, അതിന്റെ വാ കട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ മങ്കിക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമുള്ള ഫ്രൂട്ട്സോ വെല്ലോ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള they put the sweets and the monkeys they know how to grab the stuff, get into them, but they don't know how to take out of because of the greediness. They pick everything in a big fistful of stuff, but they can't take the fist out. So the same way I felt I was trapped in that kind of in the Western world. So this is this is an opportunity for me to get out of my monkey traps. And so some of the initiatives, again, I don't want to get into. So far I captured over 200 different themes, the unique themes, and pretty much in some of my team members. They're standing behind me. So Santosh and Abhijit and the whole team. I had a crew of I brought about 4 different Nikon Z9s or Z8s, and I had a 360 degree. The high end. There's nobody in. Again, I don't want to boast, but no studio in India got that kind of Titan 11K 360 degree camera. A lot of footage, about 1,000 hours of footage of that kind of content. And so far I was lucky to, again, maybe last year, so trying to make the lemon pickle out of lemons. I published about 9 different, out of that 8 different Theyyam books. One major one I'm working on is on Guruvayur. That's such a fascinating story. Mangal Rathagar and his
in the last, at least first edit, you may know the chief editor of Asianet, retired chief editor. He's helping me from the Malayalam angle. There's so many scholars are helping me from that. So Theyyam is one of the major initiatives. There are over 1,000 hours of now I can boast over 1,000 hours of high-end video with me. So we can do so much. This is again not just about the Theyyam or not just about the Malabar. This is about the gods on country, the gods of the gods on country. There's so much we can know, we can do about it. This is such a if Pepita is so fascinated about, she already spoke highly about Malabar, vividly about Theyyam. So we can literally, I sincerely believe, we can literally change the landscape of not just Kerala, not just the Tulu, Guruvayur region, the Indian tourism landscape, we can change significantly. And let me also say that you might have heard about 100 Years of Solitude, the book. And recently Netflix came out of the 100 Years of, that's one of the biggest productions Netflix did. And the stories like about 800 different stories, or maybe from the uniqueness perspective at least, I already captured about 200 different stories. The stories like Kadivinur Veer, we can make a much higher quality production than the 100 Years of Solitude, and especially with the AI, especially like these are via engineering, the technology people, and like the mentors like T.G. Devi, we can bring not just the movies, we can make at least 100 different episodes on Kadivinur Veeran itself. So there's so much we can do. Let me get into that. So I want to dedicate this presentation to the Theyyam artist, as Pepita vividly already shared. These are the gods of the people, by the people, and for the people. And again, what I'm looking from each and every one of you, again, don't necessarily be Theyyam. There are so many folklores, so many Grama Devadas, so many art forms in this part of it. I just happen to pick it up Theyyam. So we can bring our 5,000-year-old the culture, so much amazing, this kind of art forms. And another key aspect, and especially if you go to the northern part of Kerala, the Malabar region, or even throughout the Kerala. Now, unfortunately, our younger generation has to flee from this place. There's a very little opportunities for them in this part of the world. If we can bring people like Pepita, we need to learn. Literally, Kannur Airport is one of the beautiful airport I've seen. Been to several 18 different countries, so many different airports, and that is the completely underutilized or abused airport in the world. We can make sure it's not again. I just happen to pick it up. Kannur Airport. We need to learn every hour one chartered flight with full of, not that people lying, like the mobile phones and they have no idea what the hell are they doing. The scholars like Pepita, we need to bring that kind of culture. See, like she's an ambassador of Austria. So we need to have the ambassadors from the rest of the world, the scholars from the rest of the world, as a eco and cultural tools. And we can bring, you already proved the Kantara, they proved. So we can come out with already about 200 stories published. We can come out with at least several dozen much better quality, Oscar caliber movies out of many of these stories. And we need to come out with, again, we need to have people like leaders like Pepita, you need to publish so many Theyyam and this kind of art forms. And another key aspect is my key focus is on bringing, as I mentioned, these are Wamori forms, these are very little documentation on this thing. You need to be well researched. And unfortunately, we need people like Pepita, Herman Gunde, to teach us our own history, our own culture. So we need to do a serious research on this kind of initiative. And all these things, again, coming back to my last question, what the hell am I doing with my, when I'm on sabbatical since 2023, December. Even what am I doing? So my objective is to bring, somebody need to throw some spark. So do the spark. And there's, being from the management consulting field, in the finance arena, there's so much money in the world. All the trillionaires, all the political stuff, flush with money. They have no idea what to do with that kind of money. But at the end of the day, I think even in India, if you look at passing Premji, so a couple of those people, they think, if they're philanthropic, and if they bring some of the philanthropic initiative, we can literally transform. Even, think about it, even with my little savings, if I can bring if I can have audience like you, think about it. People like us in Premji, or there's so ability. It's a matter of knocking at their door. So we can do lot with business, with sponsorships and cultural philanthropic foundations. We need to partner with Folklore Academy, and we need to partner with the scholars, and we can do a lot with that. And maybe the last but not least, as I mentioned, I've been to around about 18 countries. If you go to Jerusalem, you can see maybe 3 different goats. But if you come to this part of the world, in this season, this is the peak season, you can see counted over 800 different unique Theyyam gods in this part of the world. And with that one, I know I might have already taken, again, I want to express my gratitude to Ravi sir, Varghese sir, and my own beloved teachers. And Pepita, again, you're my motivation, you're my inspiration, and we need, leaders like scholars like you. Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Yes. Can I get
Sure.
I'm quite happy to listen and see your interest in the history of Kerala.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
She wants to make it.
Okay.